G'day, ZiggyD here, and I am here with Wyatt Cheng today, Senior Technical Developer on Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. So for my viewers who are not very familiar with your position at Diablo and what exactly is that you do, would you mind sort of just explaining for them?
Yeah, in a nutshell, there's 4 major disciplines in game development: production, art, programming, and design. And design is responsible for defining, the behaviors that exist in between the art and the programming.
It's essentially how things actually function. It's like the
Right.
functionality point of view of the
Right.
game. This BlizzCon we had no new expansion pack announced, but you guys are still putting out a lot of content. Like we've got a whole new zone, we've got new monsters, we've got tons of new legendaries coming up, even new goblins.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering, like, do you guys have like a particular vision you're trying to reach in preparation for the next expansion pack? Like it's a particular sort of gameplay set of like, this is what's in the game now, and now we're ready to expand.
Right now we're focused on just looking at what the game needs and adding more content.
Yep.
And I think that the stuff we've brought to BlizzCon this year really reflects that. I mean, it's like you said, what would make the game more fun to play? New treasure goblins. What else would make the game more fun to play? More legendary items. Season 2. So, I'm thinking mostly in terms of what would make the game better right now, and rolling that out. I'm most excited about Season 2.
Yep.
A new set of conquests. I love seasons. I'm a huge fan of seasonal play, and I'm so glad that Season 1 was received so warmly and well, and I think Season 2 is going to be even better.
On that topic, what have you guys kind of learned from Season 1? There were a few little bumps in there.
There is a few, but honestly, I think it's been good. I mean, we learned that we don't want to have conquests that focus on experience grinding.
Yeah. So
we don't have the conquest to get to level 70 coming back. Instead, we don't expect every player to get every conquest. In fact, ideally, different players would get different conquests, basically the conquests that appeal to them. Sometimes we have adventure mode, and we have rifts, and we have greater rifts. But it's really fun to play the game in different ways and to have different goals. So we're changing some of the conquests to be... have you seen some of the conquests? One of them that I think I'm kind of curious to see how this one works out, is a conquest to pick up 50 million gold in a row. When you pick up gold, you have the little gold counter in the bottom right-hand corner. And we were just sitting around the office, and someone was like, man, I really like that, making that number really big. And I'm like, what? That number doesn't do anything, right? Like it's supposed to tell you how much gold you have.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I just kind of play this mini game, especially if you have Boon of the Hoarder, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I just like, making sure I pick up gold every 1.5 seconds so I can keep that streak going. And we're like, that could be an interesting conquest where we just kind of play that out.
I quite like that, yeah. It's just this little kind of for fun feature that people do anyway, but now they're going to have to really like push themselves if they want to reach that.
Yeah, and one of the philosophy discussions that we have is, when should something be a conquest and when should it be a leaderboard?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit subtle, but we really felt this should be a conquest, because this is not something that you're supposed to do over and over and over forever.
Yeah.
And we really like the idea that you say, hey, how do I pick up 50 million gold? Great, I did it. Okay. That was fun, but I'm going to go and do something else.
It's not trying to reach a high score.
You're not trying to reach a higher and higher gold, arbitrary gold number. Because that might actually, again, in the same way we don't want people experience grinding, we don't want people feeling compelled to do something extremely repetitive for an entire season.
Yeah, especially if it was gold. There's probably going to be people that work out like, this is the best way to get this 50 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Once people figure it out, you do it once, you say, okay, that was fun. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
That's it. So, I'm a bit worried about this. I'm not worried. I'm a bit interested in this new zone. Worried was not the correct term.
That's fine. You're interested in it.
I'm interested in this new zone, but I'm wondering, was the thing with the W word I was going to throw out there, where this came from. I know that it's a zone that's based on classic Diablo 2
Absolutely.
Scene. But was this like something you guys had kind of in development in the background and you've now been able to bring it forwards, or was it just a completely new thing?
No, this is a completely new thing.
Wow.
This is like, we love Diablo. and the development team loves Diablo, and we want to keep working on it, and we want to keep adding stuff to it. What would be cool? and we look at it. And you know, adventure mode, people, I don't know if people really think about it, but adventure mode and Rifts is what makes any of this possible. Because we're not integrating the new area into story mode.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to, you know, change the existing storyline, and we're not introducing a whole new act. Honestly, the Ruins of Sescharon isn't large enough to warrant being a whole act of its own.
Yeah.
What adventure mode and the Rifts allows us to do is we can say, hey, open up your Act 3 waypoint menu, and boop, there's a new waypoint. You know, it's not a whole new act. It's not integrated into the story. It's just a new environment with its own setting. It's got a nice, strong setting, new monsters. Hey, I'm doing a rift. Oh, great. Oh, hey, what's this new tile set? In the same way that in 2.1 we added the cesspools, we were like, hey, I really like it when I'm doing a rift and a new tile set shows up. That's cool. It's nice to be in different environments. That's what the Ruins of Sescharon is.
I remember you guys in the past talking about how like rifts and everything are out of canon. They're like kind of this like crazy, you know, supernatural sort of thing. So on that topic of bringing in like new zones and stuff, have you guys thought about doing something a little bit crazier? I heard a suggestion on the forums one time that was, what if we ride the catapult siege engine thing rather than it being a zone we run through? What if you're riding it and it stops attacking you? Like, have you thought about doing anything crazier?
You know, we always have all sorts of suggestions that come up. I don't know if I've heard that particular one, but I don't know, maybe. As it stands now, Rifts really allow us a lot of flexibility. You know, when I look towards the future for Diablo, Rifts is a great infrastructure, right? That which we can, guess what? Anytime we want, we can add a new monster. Anytime we want, we can add a new tile set.
It's giving you guys a lot of freedom that you didn't have before.
If we wanted to add a new gameplay type, we could. If we wanted to add a new shrine or conduit, or adventure mode is also a great platform. If we wanted to do another battering ram type event, maybe that becomes a new bounty, right? Where I go out to this bounty and maybe it's a waypoint created just for this event. We can do that now because it's a very open-ended framework that we can basically come up and grab great ideas, and when people suggest interesting ideas that would normally be hard to fit into a story, we can just say, oh, we don't have to fit into the story. We just drop a waypoint into the waypoint map and we can go and visit it. So there's a lot of ideas. We always want more ideas, and then we kind of evaluate what would probably make the game
Share those crazy ideas, guys.
That's right.
Yeah, I've enjoyed reading some of those as well. And I have to say, like, the whole like Rifts and adventure mode is kind of putting the sandbox in what I always felt was a sandbox genre. Action RPGs to me feel like a sandbox genre. It's about finding your own fun. You know, I love farming like this. I love farming for this other item, and that's, I think this new mode has really captured that spirit. So that's not a question. I'm just
yeah. Well, you know, it's funny that we're talking about like players finding their own fun, and I think that is sort of a very special experience that I think a lot of players experience in Season 1 is you have your non-seasonal character and you're wearing your full set and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to play Seasons. I'm going to roll a Demon Hunter and I'm going to get my Marauder set, right? But then on the way, you find some other item, right? You didn't get your 6-piece Marauders right away. Maybe you picked up something that made, Danetta's just happens to be a set that dropped for you first.
I love the Danetta's play.
Right? So I do too. And so what happens is you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to make my own way, right? You create your own builds based on the items that dropped for you. And even though a lot of players eventually end up at the same destination, everyone takes their own path to get there.
And it's another chance to take a different path than
what you've taken. And then you do a build that you haven't done before. I had someone yesterday tell me that they run Raycors on their Barbarian with a Furious Charge with Immortal Kings. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not common. And they're like, yeah, but that's what I have because I don't have the belt yet. And I want to get and you put together what you have and make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's something I really noticed has increased with Reaper of Souls, so it's been really good to see that.
I think that's like one of the great things about Seasons is it really emphasizes, a lot of times the journey is more important than the destination.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think Seasons really embraces that idea.
Awesome. So, on the topic of greater rifts, This, I felt, added in a real challenge for the game that wasn't there before. It added a, action RPGs have always struggled with the idea of purpose. Like, the purpose is kind of just to get gear, to get better gear. That's like the fun of it. That's what we do. We enjoy the process. But this actually adds kind of an extra purpose there now, because there's this, people trying to get past 50, and it's very difficult, Greater Rift 50.
Right.
So it's added this real challenge to the game. Have you guys thought about, like, how do you like this kind of, like, addition of challenge to the game and this purpose, and is something you want to expand upon in other areas?
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that I love that people are really into the Greater Rifts and competing and getting to 50 or getting 51. There's actually an element that I feel is a little bit underserved, and that's the people who aren't necessarily on the leaderboard. I mean, we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of people taking part and playing the game on every season in any area, and they're not going to be on the leaderboard. 99% of the players aren't on the leaderboard. But what I do want to emphasize is your personal best, And right now we tell you when you beat your personal best, but I feel like we don't celebrate that enough.
Yeah.
I want to take a lesson from marathon runners or weightlifting, right? I mean, I can watch, the world's strongest man competition on TV, but if I go to the gym, I'm happy if I beat my personal best. I feel like that's an accomplishment. I've heard feedback from some people that are like, oh, I'm never going to be in the top 1,000. And I'm like, well, that shouldn't make the game any less fun for you. People who run know they're not going to the Olympics. But it's really, really satisfying when all the serious runners, hobbyist runners, right, know what their personal best is, and they're just striving to beat themselves.
Yep.
And I really want to try and make Greater Rifts feel more like that. I really want to remind people that don't worry about those guys who are at 50. What's your best? Oh, I was talking to one of our user interface artists. He came into the office one day. He's like, Wyatt, guess what? I'm so happy. I'm like, what happened? My son and I, in 2-player, we got to Rift 18. Yes. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. You got to 18. And I was genuinely happy for him, because I know, even though sometimes we fixate on what the highest end is doing, the truth is there's tons of people who are just gearing up, finding their own way with their items, making it work, doing their own builds, and progressing farther. So I'd love to emphasize that more for Greater Rifts.
Do you have any ideas of how you might be able to help people celebrate achieving a new personal
best? Yeah, I mean, to start, I don't think we're just going to dump a bunch of chat messages into the chat log. I mean, that's kind of what happens now. Yeah. Hey, congratulations, you got a new personal best. Let's dump it in the chat log that scrolls by with clan chat.
Yeah.
So I think that we want to be able to just... Even when I achieve a new personal best, there should be a little bit of a celebration there, or maybe
a gold explosion party.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't necessarily want you to feel like I don't think we tie an actual material reward to it, because sometimes you only beat your personal best by 1 second. I wouldn't want people to game or exploit it. I think it's just satisfying, if the game acknowledged.
People like explosions.
People do like explosions. People happen to like, guess what? Boon of the Hoarder explodes gold. Oh, guess what? The new, did you see the Blood Shard Goblin that we announced, right? It's like, oh, you kill the Blood Shard Goblin, an explosion of blood shards. And the audience during the panel yesterday, when we played the video of killing a Blood Shard Goblin, and those blood shards hit the ground, and you could just feel everyone was like, that is awesome!
It's even better because he stole the blood shards from Kadar in the first place. And she is such a scam artist.
Exactly.
So on the topic of goblins, since you brought it up, you hinted at adding more. You have some ideas of what you might want to expand out into adding other ones?
There were hints.
There were hints.
Yes. We're keeping tight lid on that one.
Ah, damn. Blizzard and their secrets.
That's right.
We've got, this is kind of a sadder topic for me, I guess.
Okay.
We had the removal of the crafting components quite a while back now.
Right.
I was really fond of that idea of adding that kind of extra metagame, because that's what it was for me. It was like an extra collector's metagame. But I think the problem with it, if I'm correct here, is that it pushed the time back when you would actually get those legendaries and when they'd be accessible to beyond when they were useful. Like you would have a bunch of the legendaries when you kind of got them. That's kind of what I got from it.
No, that wasn't really. I mean, I think that's totally fair. That was a reason. It wasn't the number one reason.
Okay.
The number one reason is one of the filters that we kind of use to evaluate whether or not we want to keep a certain gameplay style is whether it drives the player to create lots and lots of games. Because what was happening is the best way to farm these materials was create a game, check to see if there's a bounty. If it's there, go. If it's not, quit. Remake the game. Remake the game. Remake the game. Sometimes you're making 4, 5, 6 games an hour. I mean, a minute, right? To farm to get the bounty that you want. And whenever we see that, we think, you know, what's the most fun thing in the game?
Not
killing monsters. Not being in a UI menu. Whatever your answer is for the most fun thing in a game, it's not navigating UI menus.
Yes.
So ultimately, that's why it was removed.
That makes sense.
The reason it was added, we still believe in. I mean, the reason it was added is just, you know, creating this, like you were saying, this sense of collecting pieces to put together to make something awesome. Right? The fantasy that as I travel the world, I can gather these components and put them together to improve my character in some way. So the intent was completely something that we want to continue to explore someday, but the mechanism just led to that kind of UI menu gameplay that we don't need. I mean, that's what the auction house was too. I mean, that was not fun. People were spending more time in UI than they were in the game. When we see that, we're gonna try and, you know, smooth that out.
Yeah, so it might be a concept you pull forwards in the future with another system that doesn't have that menu.
Maybe.
Gameplay.
I mean, right now, you know, we were working hard on Season 2 and Rifts and Legendaries, but it's always in the back of our mind that if we could come up with a really good way to sort of like, you know, I'd say the closest right now is like the Hellfire Amulet. Right? Where I'm not flipping games to try and get the components. It's like, here's how you get each of the organs, you do it, you feel like you're making progress towards it. At the end, there's a big fight, you know, you're killing, you know, a boss fight, and then you get your amulet. So I think if we could move more in that direction with some of these systems, that'd be great.
That's awesome to hear, because I hope to see some cool stuff like that. Some nice in-depth stuff done. Awesome.
It'll be interesting to see how that shapes up.
It will be. So I guess one last kind of a bit of a more fun question.
Sure.
Was so we've had Greed. We've had recently shown on the floor the on the big stands the Rat King.
The Rat King.
The Rat King. And these things are, I mean, no offense, and I think maybe the artist will take this as a compliment, but vomit-inducing.
Right. Yes.
So is there this is what I want to know. Is there like some sort of internal design competition to try and make each other sick? And like, 'cause one person on stage could barely even look at it.
I know, that was me.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't stand looking at the Rat King. It gives me chills.
Yeah.
Makes my skin crawl. Yeah, you know, the artists, they, at the end of the day, this is like, it's a dark gothic game, right? That was one of the driving forces on the creative side for Reaper of Souls, was to try and return to that dark fantasy. And I think that, I don't know if it's a competition, but our artists constantly surprise me with their ability to just put up a piece of art and make me have to look away. Like, that's just,
I can't even imagine what the next thing is going to be after that.
But I mean, all the more reason to kill them, right?
Yes. Get off my screen.
At the end of the day.
But then there's the kill animation as well.
I know.
So that was great. Thank you so much for taking the time, Dave.
Anytime. Thank you for being such a great member of the community and helping the players and making your videos. I love them.
I have to say, it's like such an exciting thing for me to come here and talk to you, because Diablo was like what kick-started my career. It's the reason I'm here now in the first place. So thank you for being a part of that.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'm very floored that you recognized me as well.
Well, I recognized your voice before I recognized your face. I don't think you're always on screen. Well, also, I mean, I listened to, I watched some of your guide videos that you've made.
Wow, that's awesome.
You made some good guides.
Thank you.